So yesterday I talked about a lot of bad news going on in the church with the Amazon Synod, with ambiguity, and not the strong leadership that we need right now. There's a profound need for clarity in the church right now. So when talking about all this bad news in the church, it sometimes sounds like well, whether it's me or whether it's traditional Catholics in general, people sometimes think, this is just speaking doom or whatever, just like very pessimistic. But honestly, there's a lot of good that can come out of a lot of bad. I firmly believe that traditional Catholicism will revitalize, the faith will be strong, the church will regain everything that it once was within the next 50 years or so. The problem is we don't have 50 years to wait because a lot of things can happen in that time. So in terms of good news, well, not so much good news as what can we do as Catholics to essentially, I guess, counteract all this bad. What can we do to become closer to God's will, to try to become saints? Well, there's a lot that we can do at this point. First and foremost, I would say go to Latin Mass. Not that you can't become a saint going to Novus Ordo. You certainly can. But I would say going to Latin Mass is a big counter action to all the bad changes being done. Kind of, it's not that you're making a statement or something, but just that there's, for all the reasons that I've talked about in my other videos, just there's so many more graces that occur. It's so much easier to evangelize with the Latin Mass and to yourself grow in faith in Latin Mass. At least that's been my experience, and I do believe that people in general would have similar experiences. So I would say go to Latin Mass, encourage your friends to check out Latin Mass, especially if you have lapsed Catholic friends. They tend to, at the very least, think, yeah, that's really cool, rather than be somehow against it. And that could start some conversations, and who knows what could happen from there, right? The second thing is pray the rosary. Dr. Taylor Marshall says if you're not praying the rosary, you're not on the team. Pray the rosary every day. Our Lady of Fatima said to do so. We should probably listen to that. So pray the rosary every day. It's very quick. You can do so if you have no other option. Like I do it when I walk to class, on my way to class. Also, profound vice can be counteracted with profound virtue, especially like working with yourself, right? When you have a problem that you're struggling with, whether it's particular imprudence or particular lack of temperance, like gluttony or something, or sloth, then the counter virtue to that is what you need to focus on, right? If you're particularly prideful, profound humility needs to be worked with, and I believe that generally works for people as a whole. If the world is struggling with imprudence and pride, then people who want to change that need to act with profound humility and profound prudence. So I want to talk eventually in more detail about the virtues. I have a bit of time now, so maybe I'll just briefly touch on that. So prudence, if you don't know, there's 4 cardinal virtues, and then 3 theological virtues. People usually know 3 theological virtues pretty well: faith, hope, charity. Faith, hope, and love. And then the 4 natural virtues, or the 4 cardinal virtues, which is prudence, temperance, justice, and fortitude. I think there's a bit of a different order to that. But yeah, so prudence basically means the ability to make good decisions effectively, wise decisions, and to judge between good and evil, right? So the kind of opposing forces to prudence would be making judgments too quickly, like rashness, I guess, and making judgments too slowly, so like inaction, right? Doing nothing. You want to have, essentially, virtues tend to be like a balance between these 2 opposite extremes. So prudence would be the ability to make good decisions effectively, quickly, as quickly as they need to be. Essentially, like not rushing things, not never doing things, but just trying to follow God's will, trying to discern that which is good, which is very difficult to work on, but it's the most important virtue in terms of the natural virtues. Um, Temperance is pretty self-explanatory. It's just like being able to take things in moderation, right? So gluttony is an antithesis of temperance in a way, because gluttony is consuming too much of whatever, and temperance is just being able to take things in moderation, to not have bad habits, to be able to control your I guess impulses, control your temper your passions, right? Putting the will over the passions. So the justice, Thomas Aquinas defines it as giving to another his due. So when we talk about something like social justice, makes no sense because justice is already by nature social, right? Like you always there is an implicit necessity to be dealing with another person when you're talking about justice. So God is maximally just, and his mercy and justice coincide, which is super difficult to wrap one's head around. But essentially, justice is the ability to recognize what another person needs and to be able to give them that. And sometimes that is tough love, sometimes that is just having the humility to help someone out. But it also has to do with I guess following law, whether that's God's law or just general justice. And I think justice is one that's missing quite a lot in secular society, and in terms of the church as well. Sometimes, like, you see politicians that should probably be excommunicated are not being excommunicated. Like, punishments need to be carried out. That's part of justice, and that's part of the appropriate function of church leaders, is to carry that out. For example, for politicians who fail to condemn abortion and who promote abortion, right? That's a grave sin that needs to be definitively declared. It's missing that clarity, right? We're in that sphere of ambiguity. The last virtue in terms of the four natural virtues is, what am I missing? Fortitude. Fortitude is fairly simply courage, right? Being able to bear suffering, being able to fearlessly approach whatever it is God wants you to do, which we very much need that now. That's a very important part of leadership, very important part of being a father, whether you're going to be married or whether you're going to be a priest. Both of these right now demand tremendous fortitude, resolve, right? Strength of character, integrity, and not succumbing to the pressures of the world, whether that's just cowering away or giving up or whatever. We really need that strong fortitude to face the struggles of today. So also, so that's how we can grow. That's some idea about some very basic ideas about approaching the virtues. But also, we need to. So okay, step 1, Latin Mass. Step 2, rosary. Step 3, virtues. Step 4 is going to be tell the truth. So we need to be aware of the things that are going on. We need to do our research. We need to understand the Catholic faith as best as we can. And doing so very much in humility. So I hope that my viewers have good priests that they can go to for guidance, and also read the saints, read the Roman Catechism, or you know, research questions that you may have, and if there's ambiguity, find maybe a slightly older source. They're usually more clear. So with all those things, there's certainly more to be said. I really want to talk about the vocation of marriage, because I think there's a bit of people want to discern marriage or priesthood. I think there's sometimes a approach to marriage that is slightly, I guess, lacking, because we think of marriage not as it truly is. Sometimes in opposition to priesthood, which it is not. It is not an opposition to priesthood. But anyways, this video is going a little bit longer than most, so we'll wrap it up there. So stay strong, have fortitude, grow in virtue, pray to God. We need to pray. We very much need to pray. Pray the rosary, and pray. Go to mass, and maybe tomorrow we'll talk about priesthood. And marriage. So thank you for watching, and God bless.